This is my second year of flipping full-blown flipping, everything that I do. Even my advisory activities, I try to do that. I'm actually missing tonight an opportunity to speak for one of my advisees as she's inducted into this honor society thing. And when I told her I couldn't make it, the look of, so is anybody going to, because her sister did the same thing. So she's like, so I know that you say things about me as I'm inducted. What's going to happen? I said, well, I'll type up a script and I'll give it to someone else to read. And she asked, could you do a video? Well, by all means I can do a video. Then I just had to find someone who's going to be there that night that has the ability to hit play, which I could find, which was a good thing. You'll see it's become more and more, not just what I do as a teacher, but also, as a father, as you name it. They're shutting the door on us. So, less is more is the title. And you'll see that's going to mean different things throughout this morning, this afternoon, whatever it is right now. It's an hour and a half in here, which I only do block schedule 2 days out of our 6-day rotation. So if you're a block scheduler and you can sit still for 90 minutes, great. Good for you. Hopefully we'll move around. If you have to get up and go, just go. Stand up. If you like to stand and lean on walls, by all means. I'm not a sitter. I'm a pacer. So I get it. And I may go open the windows because I'm also hot. Yeah. All right. There's my contact information, bottom left. If you want it, just take a screenshot, do whatever you need to do. I'm just so used to my kids in the classroom when anything pops up that they want, and it's like, click. Go ahead, take it as much as you want. They're apparently video, so that'll probably be available sometime that you'll be able to go online and download. So if you want to go back and relive the terror, certainly my family's over here in the bottom right. I just give them a little kudos because it's 2 years in doing this. There's always more, and there's always more, and there's always more, and I think that's in that teaching in general. And so they put up with me going off to conferences and attending and presenting, and I appreciate the fact that they're doing that. So if they get to see this on video, thank you. Today's notes I have up there. You can go ahead and click that if you want. If you don't know QR codes and don't use QR codes, I encourage you to give it a try. It's super simple and easy. You just ask the Google, as my father-in-law says, the Google. Ask the Google about a QR code generator. It's all free. You just paste in the URL, click Save, poof, QR code embedded in your thing, and then away you go.
So then how do you get it?
How do you get it? Oh, you have to have a QR reader on your smart device. And I say smart because we're all smart. Pretty soon there'll just be devices. And then you'll open it up and some people are doing it here. If you don't know what to do, watch them. It'll go beep. If you have your sound on, there's my reminder. Turn sound off on your electronic devices, please. Let me check my home. Like the thing in. I got all my sound turned on. Yes, sir.
Just thinking about you were talking about goo.gl will not only give you a short URL, because sometimes I'll put the short URL. If you click on details, it'll give you a copyable, pastable image like that. Mm-hmm. And then it's a smaller size QR code in terms of the amount of data in it because it's a short URL.
Gotcha. Yep. All right. So there's that. So again, if you want to do that, and if you're I was talking up front here, we went one-to-one iPads this last fall. So I've started using this a lot more to get kids to where I need them to go instead of giving them URLs or using stuff on the internet for links and things. Because then they'll just take this and then they insert it into Notability, which if you use iPad's Notability, I love it. It's well worth the money. It's a great note-taking app. It just pulls all the PDF right in there. So if you have your notes ahead of time for the kids to follow along with, poof, now they have it. Then they can take notes right on their own pace. If you don't, I pulled this up on my phone to make sure it worked. And then, if you want to use it on your phone, but at least you have it now for storage sake for future. At the end of this set of notes, I'll have to think about if I did this or not. I think there's an article at the end of it. Good read, if you take that. So, it's like in the bulletin at church, when you read the notes inside when it looks like you're really taking notes. I know how it goes. 5 things, here you go. And if you have something to write on, you're well worth it now. If you have, some people, did you bring a writing utensil? I stole mine from the Borders Hotel this morning because I didn't have a writing utensil because I hardly ever have paper on me either. 5 things, if you read the Math Teacher magazine, it was one of the things they talked about in there too. But what I want you to do is list, share, compare. Take about 60 seconds to list and then share 5 things that you think you already know about flip teaching. 60 seconds. Go. Sharing actually requires communication, by the way. It's awfully quiet for sharing. Well, list and share. Some people are doing it as they go together. Fifteen seconds. And stop. That was actually 1 minute and 15 seconds, so I gave you extra time. Take it out of your recess later. Someone willing to share? Or I'll point. What did you come up with? Someone from the first row. Okay, there we go. Yep.
Well, basically that the kids are doing more of the podcast as homework, and they're spending a little bit more time doing homework or getting a little bit more one-on-one time with the teacher in the classroom.
Okay, so getting podcasts or vodcasts on their own at home, and then more classroom time to get work done with the teacher there.
And to do other activities.
And other activities as well. Okay, you have more.
And there's another, there's a book that I read that was really good about flipping your classroom.
Yes.
I got it through ASCD.
ASCD, yeah, Aaron Sands and John Bergman. I'll put a little link to them later. Yep.
It's a great book.
Great book. Short read, easy read.
That's
a math teacher saying easy read.
So, yeah.
It's an easy read. Not to overgeneralize this. How to flip your classroom.
That's it for me.
Yep. Good. More. Yes.
I think in some cases it's just being used as a sort of a lecture base, and so I'm hoping to hear how it can be used in connection with Common Core. So a lot of times it's just, I've heard students say, well, we never had instruction in the classroom at all. We just learned our homework in the classroom. I don't know that that's purely flipping the classroom.
Okay, so more seeing it as just sitting in the more like a study hall. Just lecture and restore.
And then you come into the classroom.
Okay. Yes.
I think I flip lessons as ways to give students access to content anytime, 24/7.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So more of a 24/7 content availability. Good. What else do we know? Yeah.
The kids can kind of move at their own pace. I tried it with one particular chapter or geometry class just to try it out to see if I liked it as well as if the students liked it. And they did, because they did like that they could go at their own pace. And I have some kids right now that they're working ahead because I have all my podcasts already done, and then they can go at their pace.
So it's something that potentially systematically could allow for some more self-pacing. Okay. What else do we know?
Hybrid model seems to work better than strictly online or nice classes.
Okay. All right, we'll talk about hybrid model, unless you want to elaborate on what hybrid model is.
I'm not teaching.
Oh, come on! It's called resourcing. That's what this is called.
Oh, okay.
So those are the 5 things that we think we already know about flip teaching. All right. Then, let's share, compare 5 things you want to know more about flip teaching. We'll give you 90 seconds now. List, share, and then we'll compare. Go. And we're done. All right, what are some things that we want to make sure we get covered and know more about before we leave here today? Yes?
I would like to know about like other activities that that I could do to instead of giving them I do give them homework time, but other activities that maybe you do or some suggestions, something like that.
Outside or inside of class?
Either.
Or yes?
Either.
Good. Yes?
How do you handle students who may not have access to technology to do that?
Good question.
Or students that just don't do them.
No.
Say again? Mm-hmm. Say it again. Okay. Yes.
Decent resources so that you don't have to create them all on your own that aren't just about tricks. A lot of the videos that I found online are, here's a shortcut to this, here's a trick for this.
Oh,
Not
gotcha.
understanding.
All right. Now, yeah. Yes.
How to convince parents that it is actually teaching.
Good. Yes, sir.
Resources for bilingual or EL, English language learners, or deaf students, blind students.
Yes.
Is there a program or software that works with Apples and Windows? So you don't lose half the kids if you have a BYOD plan where they get to choose and half have Apple and they can review it and the other half has something else and they can't.
So cross-platform users.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Happy to say I'm ready for a lot of those questions. The other ones we'll figure out when we get there. In terms of, I don't have a slide is what I mean, not have to wing it and make it up. That's what we do anyways. So overview, here's what we're going to do. As we use our time here, and hopefully I use it wisely. We have how it works, why we flip, and then doing some practice. So if you don't have a device with you, then by all means you can't practice. But you can see some different ways of doing it and addressing some of the technological access points of information. Couldn't think of the right word there. Well, I'm going to give you the spiel. I talk fast. Tend to talk really fast, sometimes faster than my head can process correct words to get out. So if I stumble and pause, usually that's why. But if I also say something so fast that you really didn't understand what I just said, ask me. All right, and as I do some stuff up here, if I'm with my iPad, you can't read it. I understand that I'm about the only person that can read my writing when I'm writing it for me. I try to do a better job for the students. I'll try to do a better job here today, but if it doesn't, let me know. I can fix. All right. But that's what we're going to do. So how it works. We're going to look at this from two perspectives. One, we're going to do it from a student's perspective, and then I'm going to do it from the teacher's perspective because very different in terms of being the consumer versus the creator of a lot of this information that's out there. All right? It's only going to like me if I stand on that side. There we go. So from the student view, this is what we'll look at first. So what do the students see? Let me also tell you as I go, this is one way of doing it. This is how I do it. I'll show you some other ways that it is done as well as we talk about, a hybrid model or something along those lines. All right, so what I do is not the only way to set it up and process all the information. It's just one way. We happen to be a Google platform school, which means all the kids have a Gmail account. So I decided when that happened, I took the website that I first created in, I don't even remember the program. Then it was iWeb, and then it was something else, and now it's my Google site. All right, so I keep moving my website from one place to the next. And as I've done, it's kind of like when you move houses, you realize I really don't need that, I really don't need that, I really don't need that. So now I'm down to, I think, about the bare minimum of what I need to have on my website for the kids to access. All right, so when they're doing their homework, they know to go to my website. And if the Wi-Fi is going to run and connect me, which it won't, which is why I've already preloaded this page. All right, there's my page. All right, so this is what they come in and they see. And if they're in my Providence Stats class, they come down here to Chapter 8, and here are my Chapter 8 videos that I have out there. All listed by topic, not by section. All right. So that way also, as textbooks seem to change on me all the time, the topics don't change in all of this. In much of what we do here in mathematics, box plots will still be box plots. All right. So that's kind of the bonus for us. Every year in history, they have to add another year. We don't. All right. So there's my videos. Made with different programs, you'll see some have my picture in them, picture-in-picture, some don't. That's because I use a multitude of programs as I've developed my own library/arsenal of videos. So this is what they come in and they see. At the bottom of the page, there's a Google form. Now, if you're not a Google school, you can still do Google Forms. Just all you need is a Gmail account. I highly recommend it. This is my management tool. All right? So what I do is I make this video, and up here it says, is this you? Yes, it is. And you grant each kid access. Does it take time, first day of school, first couple days of school, to get their email address? Yes. What if they don't have an email address? Help them create an email address. Have their parents set up an email address, something that's going to work for them. I don't know what your policies are for the emails and how it works at your schools. Some people have no policy, or they don't know the policy, or there is a very strict one, so you'll have to work around your IT person. If you're an IT person, I apologize. They're going to be working around. So this is what the kids see. Every video. This is them taking notes. All right, because they're, convincing the kids, which we'll get to later, they're convinced, I just get to sit and watch a video. I don't have to take notes anymore. Wrong. All right, and this form that I use is one single form. I don't have to recreate this for every video or for every chapter. It's just one form. It propagates, and we'll look at that in a second, a giant spreadsheet with thousands of lines of data now, lots of data. Data's a good thing. All right? I have it set up so that they have to be logged in, so it will record who they are, it records the time they did it, and it records the answers to their questions. I make every field required. You have to do it. You have to do it. You have to do it. All right. So the reluctant learner, fine. You know, they just kind of move their fingers. They hit submit at the end. You said all I had to do was submit it. Well, yes and no. I said you have to submit it for every video, but you also have to actually write something pertinent to what's going on. You can't just look at the video and say, okay, box plots. In this section, I learned about box plots. All right? So now you assume, I don't know what grade that would be to identify the title and say, yes, that's what we learned about, but getting them beyond that point. So what I like to do when I do this, and I introduce it to kids, and I'm kind of jumping myself ahead, is show them examples of what's good. And usually you put 4 or 5 up there, and they'll rank them easier than you can. Oh, that's a really good one. And oh, that's stupid. And then, they realize, oh, wait, I would probably do that. All right? But you can very quickly identify, and without actually having to create a rubric for how you grade, is this good or not? Because I don't want to grade these rubric style. That takes too much time. I want to look and see, are they processing information? Are they asking good questions? And that's the last one there is, one question I have about this section is, none is not an answer. All right? If you are really thinking about something, you will automatically have questions. If you don't, then you're not really thinking. And this was a late addition to my form last year. And it has been my favorite cell to look at in my spreadsheet. And hopefully you'll see why in a moment. And then I tell them down here, this is great, send me a copy of my answers. It's automatically checked if you set it up that way on your little form. And the kids go, I don't want to do that. And then they see they didn't get points for what they did. What I did. Show me. What do you mean? Did you send yourself your own responses? Well, no, I never do. So the technology munchkins, gremlins, whatever they are, they ate your notes. I have no proof that you did it. I'm sorry. All right? Technology is going to be, and then, of course, it's going to be their best friend or their worst enemy when you get to this point. All right? And then what I really tell them they should do is you get all these emails, you can merge all that information onto pages, and now you have all your notes. They don't really like that idea. All right, but then you have something, because some people are like, but I want to have my written notes. And that's fine too. And as we were talking out in the hallway, so much of learning happens between your thumb and your index finger when you're writing things down. All right? These questions never change. A lot of the kids that I have in my classes will have out a notebook, and as they watch the videos, they're writing down their notes. It's the same question. And then they go to the end, and then they type what they wrote. Wow, 2 times now they've typed or written those notes. Chances for memory, way up. Okay? Others that are more prolific or more sophisticated with the iPad will have a couple windows open and a couple things going on, and they'll just be typing as they're listening and watching and going. All right, I get to see some of that again. So that's what the students see. Now, as I go along here, I'm not so stuck up on making sure I get through all my slides. Trust me, I will. I talk fast. So if you have questions, fire away. And if I say we're getting there, trust me, we will. All right? So feel free to jump in. And if I don't see your hands up, it's not because I don't want to. It's usually I just don't recognize it all the time. So just shout it out. I'm okay with that. All right. So what I do in class is I need to go something else. Let me see. Yep. All right, we'll get to what I do in a class in just a second. All right, so this was just in case that I really couldn't get logged into the website. So I took a screenshot and I put it on here so you can see what it would look like, but we already looked at it. And there's something about the Piggly Wiggly binomial functions. This is Camtasia, by the way, when we get to the what software. And I'll have a big screen list of all different software. And I'll show you how some of them work here today, too. And I took a screenshot of this, again, just in case I was a little over-prepared. Some people, I just call idiosyncrasies. So, teacher's view. In advance, I prepare a video. I don't use anybody else's videos. It's because I'm so arrogant to believe that I can do a better job than everybody else. It's an honest assessment. I know it's wrong. All right. But I am narcissistic, and I'm not afraid to admit it. The kids that, when we, I used to do other people's videos, they found, and I don't know if they meant to come across as a compliment like this, and it fed my narcissism, is we really like hearing your voice. I do too. That's why I'm a teacher. So I prepare all my own videos. It's also, and I teach mostly statistics, so I find that whenever 3 or 4 statisticians are in a room or write books, there's like 9 different ways to write the same symbol. All right? So why not have them hear and see the way I do it instead of me conforming to someone else because I think I'm better? So that's why I prepare my own videos. And it's also so I know that they're hearing the right words, hearing the right language of what I think they're supposed to be pulling out from some of the content that's out there and available. And I think there's just a sense of familiarity that breeds with the students that they can actually do find comfort in knowing that it's your voice there. All right. Every once in a while, we'll have little guest appearances by students who either come by my office while I'm videoing, or just ask if they can be a shout out in a video, and it keeps them engaged, waiting for their moment of glory in one of the videos. So ahead of time, I make videos, and then I post videos. How much time does that take? Yeah. It's not an answer you want to hear. Okay. So last year, I did/redid every section. I was spending probably 15 to 20 hours a week extra. Which is why I go back to that picture of my family and say thank you. Does that mean now I don't do any of my own videos and I just sit in a hammock and wait for kids all the responses to roll in? No, because for as narcissistic as I am, I also look at it and go, ooh, yeah, I could do better there. And I can do better here. So I'm not redoing them all. Actually, very few. But with one of the programs I use, I can actually import and do some tweaking and things like that. And now I'm fidgeting with it. And when I start to fidget, then I can spend another 15 to 20 to 30 hours just fidgeting. So it's learning to set boundaries. That's a good thing to say. It's really hard to do. The first year, if you decide to do this, and we'll get to this at the end, is setting attainable goals. I started about the second weekend, the first year I did, the second weekend of school I started. I came across an article that I have that software program, let me give that a try. And I loved it so much that I decided to do it for every class that first year. Every section. It hurt, but it was good in a way. All right, so what I tell you is don't do what I did. Because I don't think it was the best and proper use of my family's time. So there. How long does it take me now? 2 years into it, 2 years full into it. I can, okay, so Sophie's her name, that's the one in the video I just made. Had her parents send me some photos. I took the photos, inserted them, I had to come up with a script because it's not something I've done before. It's not, like the binomial, which I know. So I had to come up with a script and then record it and then spend my little time tweaking it. And it probably took me an hour to make, which is far too long for any of the classroom videos I do. All right, if I have to remake a new video, had to make one on comparing two proportions for my intro class. And we did some M&M labs. A lot of you may have done them. So it took me about 10 minutes to record. And then I set it aside and had to come back an hour later when I actually had a moment and take another 3 minutes to get it uploaded, linked to my webpage, and an email sent out to them saying, hey, you know that video I promised you? It's up now. All right, so grand total about 15 minutes. So that's that video is about 7 minutes long. So it took me about 10 minutes to record because they had paused. make sure I'm saying everything right, record again. I didn't do any tweaking on it. It was just get it dirty, get it done, get it on the internet so they can see it. I house all my information on YouTube, and if you have servers that have YouTube problems, the great thing about Google is they are owned, or YouTube's owned by Google. So I just embed my videos into my Google site. It never goes out to YouTube to get it, so there's not a, when I was down in Indiana, the schools couldn't have access to YouTube. It was blocked statewide for all public schools. And I thought, wow, that would be dead in the water. Except that it never goes out there since it's embedded in your site, so it bypasses that problem altogether. All right, which gets to later on parent concerns. Well, I don't want my kid out surfing. 5th and 6th we were talking up here. We have a 5th grade teacher doing it, and the parents are like, I don't want my kid out surfing on YouTube. Who knows what they might come across? I'm like, I agree. I wouldn't want that either. Here's the great thing: they don't. All right, it's just right in the, and that's why I like the Google Suite so much. This is not a commercial for Google. If you look at me, it was a commercial for Apple. And everything else out here. All right. So that's what I do in advance. The day of, I'm going to view their responses. All right, so these are responses that were not too far off. Here they go. April 18th at 10:49 in the morning. This is all military time, so I also know what time they're doing their stuff. Yeah. It's actually, if you look at those timestamps, they're not too bad. It's almost all during the day, though. All right, now look at these times, and that's when they have lunch, 11:30. And I only have a few here that are listed. All right. So I look at this, and I'll be honest. Now, so first couple weeks of the year, I read a lot. Now, I don't do much at all. Okay, here's what I want to know. All right, and how do I have this organized? I have this organized by video. So what's the title of the video? So if I'm looking at all the videos, for this one, where is the line between the two? All right. And that is supposed to be the number 2. All right. None of them excited to see what problems will come out of this. None of them excited, yes, they repeatedly. How do you do this for skewed, or is that not important? Think Bloom. How are these different? All right. And I have it hidden right now just for their own safety and security, but their emails are in column B for me. So I know who's asking those questions. So what I do is usually, as there's passing time, I quick open up the thing, if it's a new class, and I look through. Now if I have multiple sections, they all drop it into the same form, because it's for the same class for me. And so what I get is, okay, now I have 20, 40, 60, 80 kids submitting the same form, or should be, for the same video, and I start looking at these questions, and I can see, aha! So for me, I have 20 kids. If I have 7 with the same question, that means I have 7 that have the same question that don't know they have the question yet. All right? That's a major question. That's something I need to address right away to class. And then I look and say, okay, do I have any littler ones that are still consistently themed? Maybe I'll do that corporately with the whole class. After that, then when they get in, address those major questions, and more times than not, when you address the major questions, the kid was like, oh, I didn't even think of that one yet. All right, but someone else was, thank goodness. All right? I think back to when I didn't flip, and I think, how many times did you ask questions? Get a question, answer the question. 2 minutes later, kid raises their hand. Same question. But they didn't have the question yet. So they're not listening to the answer to a question they did not yet know they had. Now, it's like I'm reading their minds. It's great. And then I also get the questions of, they are way out in left field. All right, differentiation, we said. Now I'm differentiating in my own classroom, and I'm taking those 3 or 4 kids, class gets started, I said, hey guys, come back here, you. Or maybe I've looked ahead of this ahead of time, and they got a little card when they came in that said, you're at my table for me for a little bit. And you vary that up so that it's not always the kids that are behind. Maybe it's the 4 kids that are way ahead of questions. You pull them aside and say, yes, great, you're here, keep running. or it's the ones in the middle, so you can differentiate like that. So I pull them in, and we do a quick remediation. Hitting where their questions were, trying to get those solutions met so that they can then use that time to be coached to get more done. All right. Does it sometimes start to look like a study hall? Yes. All right. But again, feedback I get from my students, and I'm asking them constantly for feedback because I want to know, is this working? How could it be better? The feedback I get is, I want to say, probably end of February, things got a little discombobulated with stuff going on in class, and we didn't have as much classroom time to get work done. And we started getting some feedback in saying, we need more time in class so we can get the problem sets done, so we're not trying to do that at home. We want you there when we're working on the problem, so when we find a problem and we can't work through it, we have someone there. And if it's not me, it's their classmates, because you know, they all know. If you're busy, they'll go to this kid over here who's got the answer. Or preferably a solution process instead of just the answer, but they know where to go to get that stuff. All right, so we're putting them in an environment where they're more likely. Really, I need to open this window up here. Yeah. Am I the only one dying?
No.
Okay. Am I going to get yelled at if I prop the door open and yell? Am I making too noise down the hall? We'll get a little cross ventilation, maybe. Feel free to bridge out the people next to the windows there. Train of thought. Classroom time. Getting them back in then to the process of feeling free to ask questions. I have a kid, Luke. His name has been changed to Save the Innocent. But Luke used to, the kids coming in, you always hear the horror stories, right? Never does anything. Never says a word. We're lucky if he passes every year. Yet he does. What happens? I'm getting some amazing questions from this young man. I really understood. I'm getting some amazing connections that he's making that I don't even think of to content we're going through. All right, that's one example. I could give you more of a kid who I think just didn't. I don't know if he didn't like the classroom structure. I don't know what was his roadblock before. All right, but he has a forum that he's required to do. But couldn't he still not do it, is the question. Oh, yes, he could technically not do it. I give him 1 point for doing it well. That's it, 1 point. All right, how many videos did I have for Chapter 8? It's quite a few. All right, I don't do much for homework collecting because they're in class. I'm watching them do the problems. I know if they have it or they don't have it. I don't need to be collecting it. I still put points in the grade book for it. You're like, well, I never turned anything in. I said, no, you're right, you didn't. But when I was coming around, I saw you're doing all the right stuff. Absolutely. I see your work every day. And I don't have to take it home to look at it. Even better. Okay, I spend my extra time doing many other things. Yes?
And they're not cheating off each other much?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, same thing with like writing the homework. Now, when they're in the class and I see them writing the homework, I know they're not cheating off of someone. Or if I see them just doing this number, I'll stand there and say, are we watching process or product? Yeah, exactly. But I get to be there for those interventions, not when I get the homework back going, wow, same exact wrong answer. Perfectly matching. Okay. Oh, no. Yes. All right. So to answer it, I don't know. They're going to resource that all over the place. Yes.
So, sounds great. Sounds awesome.
Yes.
Works for math. What happens is everybody in your school
No.
doing this?
Absolutely
so
not.
how do you compare somebody, well, in your class I do this and I have an engaged kid, whatever the kid's name
Right,
is.
Luke, yeah.
Luke. But what happens in social studies and they have more traditional style? I mean, do you get teachers against teachers?
You
with this
can.
style?
I suppose I could see that happening. I have not seen it.
Okay.
What I end up seeing is some hybrid kind of situations going on where they say, wow, I could do that, but I'm not going to do what you do.
Okay.
Not the full extent of what you do because, one, I don't have the time, I don't want to make the time,
Right.
or realistically, subject matter, it's not a good match.
Sure.
But having that open-mindedness to have those conversations is good. When we have a little, sitting down with the learning specialist and talking about a kid, and why is it working with you and not here? And then we start cross-pollinating and getting some good suggestions going on. And then you might start getting, I wonder how that might happen in my classroom. So maybe, but not a lot of
So you haven't seen it,
No.
at least that's coming
No, the
up
only
to
pressures
you.
I'm seeing right now, and I don't remember who I was talking with, is the middle school had, so the fourth and, the woman who teaches 5th and 7th grade math has been doing this. And I really think our old school 6th and 8th grade teachers who've been there for 20-some plus years, we're hoping, oh, we've seen these fads come and go, this one will go, and it hasn't. And the 5th grade and 7th grade parents, and again, I'm jumping ahead of myself here, are saying, this is amazing. And it's the 5th grade parents that really called it really the Johnson & Johnson method. It's the no more tears. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's great, I'm using it. But it really has been, for a lot of the 5th grade kids, no more tears at home with the parents. All right, which gets me into the question of, so how do we convince parents that we're still teaching?
Right.
With the videos, a lot of the teaching is still going on. It's just not happening in the classroom. It's going on at home, where they can stop and pause and write things down and rewind.
They like that. They like that power.
Yeah, Mom and Dad, I think they talked about that, but I don't remember them saying that in class. It's right there. All right. So it's actually been because of the parents now coming and saying, so you're looking at February again and saying, well, they don't do this in 6th grade. What are we going to do next year?
Right.
Okay, so then it's, Brian, can you come help over the summer? And yes, I can. All right, and going that way. So the parents have been the easiest sell, partly because we just kind of didn't tell them up front, and they saw what happened and said, wow, 1, tell me what's going on, and 2, this is great. There's always going to be some people that complain because they don't like anything that changes anything. It's the who moves my cheese mentality of it all. So that's always going to happen, but 80% are actually actively coming in and saying they like it. To get positive feedback at that high of a percent is really unusual. Normally you don't get that kind of response until it's the other end. Okay, there's a question over here, and then up here.
Do you, for example, do you teach geometry and somebody else teaches geometry and they
No.
don't use the videos, or are you
I'm it.
you're it?
For what I do. In middle school, yes. So she doesn't teach all the 5th graders. She teaches 4 of the 5 sections. So, or 2 of the 3 sections of 5th grade. All right. So the other one doesn't. So then you get the, why is it here? But that's always true with every subject. It's, we're scheduling for classes for next year right now. And kids are trying to finagle into this teacher instead of that teacher because they heard they're easier. Or whatever. Or some parents are going, no, we want them because they're harder and they're going to ride my kid. And on all the different spectrums for the reasons, this is just another reason.
I was thinking if there's 3 of us that were teaching L2,
Yep.
you could make a video. I could
Yep,
make a video,
and that's what I've heard works
video.
really well. And it's one of those where I wish I had that problem. But then it was, you have 2 or 3 or 4 geometry teachers, and you say, hey, what's your big passion in geometry? And outside of this room, that sounds like a crazy talk. I know. But what's your passion in geometry? I know quadrilaterals. It's awesome, right? All right. So great. You run with that, and you do these fantastic videos, and it's become more of a team teaching mentality with producing videos. Take some of that burden off. Okay, but you have to be less narcissistic than I, and say I'm okay with what they're doing. All right. I think it's great in terms of being able to more parallel what's going on in all the classrooms because you're all using the same materials a little bit more consistently. The kids are hearing it from the same person. Now, in our school, so the 2 5th grade groups have her and the 3rd one doesn't. Does that mean those other kids aren't watching the videos? Yeah, they're watching the videos. Absolutely they are. All right, they're just not filling out and returning the form because it's not worth points for them. Why do something that you're not going to get points for, right?
This might kind of address the whole cheating idea because their performance comes out in your assessment anyway.
Absolutely.
Do you do online assessments?
No.
And then how often do you assess? You just depends on the or?
For a summer assessment, I'll do once per
And that's
chapter.
like in the class.
In the classroom. Yep.
See, and that's where that cheating
Goes
kind
away.
of comes to the surface anyway.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah. But that also gets to my philosophy on assessment is there's really only one summative assessment, and that's the end of the year. Every other assessment they can redo, and it's the exact same assessment. They never see it. They said the only time they see it is when they're taking it. No iPads out, no phones out, no nothing. They see it. If they got photographic memory, fantastic. They can memorize the test. All right? But the next time they take the test for me, it's the same test. Before they can take the test again, they have to come in and have a sit-down one-on-one with me when I'm free, which isn't very often, to look at it, ask questions, and if they want to rework a problem in my classroom, or excuse me, in my office or in my wherever I'm at, they can, and then it's stapled to the back of the last test they took. They don't get to take it with them. The only thing they take with them is what they've learned, just like at the end of the year. Okay? But that's really not the point of what this is. But that's how I do my assessments, so that at the end of the year, final exam, here it is. Guess what? It's all the questions you've already seen. And I take it's not a random selection, but it's a selection of those problems. Yes?
But I'm guessing part of the, you mostly or only teach statistics?
That's all I do right now.
No,
yeah.
and the reason I say that is your assessments, it's much more difficult. Say you had an exam view dynamic questions
Yes.
for K through everything, but not statistics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because statistics is an area where it would be hard to have good dynamic questions that you could get many variations of.
Right,
and
right.
give
Different
them,
iterations. I looked at doing Moodle or something like that, where you could create a question and then it would randomly generate some values that would go in, so it would be a different technical question, but it's essentially the same. But with everything else that I did, and I looked at how much volume of, I don't know if anybody has used Moodle in here. Okay. To create a really good test bank is a lot of work. All right? And that would have been a sell job I can't make to Nancy and my kids. So, again, that was for me setting the limit and saying, yeah, that would be awesome. This would really add another layer and element. But I didn't have time for another layer and element at the time.
well, but I mean, question banks, so you don't even have to buy textbooks to just
Right.
go buy a good dynamic exam view question bank
Yes.
for whatever level. Yeah, but not probably good ones for statistics still, because that's still a hard area.
It's a little different. Yes, sir.
I have three questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, by all means.
One of them dovetails on what we've been talking about. How do they handle the test when they're used to you being in the classroom using you as a crutch? And then they get a test and they have to do everything on their own.
Good question. I hadn't thought of it from that perspective before, so I don't have a great answer. Let me think on it. If you have my answer, yes.
What I find when the kids are doing it at home, their crutch is their parents, who
Yeah.
oftentimes don't know how to ask the questions, they just know how to give them the answer. So I'm less of a crutch for them than their parents are. So
Okay.
having me in the classroom, they know that I'm going to ask a question, not give an answer.
Right.
And their parents give them the answer. So that's why I see the big
Okay.
disconnect between homework and quizzes or tests.
Yeah, where parents sometimes can become a crutch at home. Yeah, and I've seen that too, right? And I guess more I think from a perspective of as they're taking a test for me, I also know what kind of coaching helps them better in working through a problem. And if I can direct some thinking down that line without giving away content, I can do that better than I used to be able to do. All right? I've never thought of it as a crutch, though. But it could be perceived that way. I mean, it's a good question. That's what I like, but I don't
I
have a
always
great
get the
answer.
question, it's so easy when you do it, and then I try to do it on my own.
Right. Yeah. Well, and when I try to convince the kids, and again, I'm ahead of myself on the slides. When we get to those, we'll just fire right through them. Is when I'm convincing the kids of this, I said, how many of you ever in your past mathematical careers and lives said, I was at home, and they look at a question, they read it, and they put down the big question mark because they have no idea how to start. And then we get to the classroom and said, okay, let's take a look at this one. You start talking a little bit, and then they're like, oh, I get it now. Well, how come I couldn't get it when I was at home? Well, and this is, again, more brain chemistry and things like that I could talk about probably ad nauseum for another hour and a half, about why it's important for them to be doing the work that we expect them to do in the classroom, if that's where we're going to assess them, is in the classroom, because the connections that go on, and it's like muscle memory. It's no different than brain memory, which is why I don't like it when our kids take final exams in other classrooms. There's, you walk into, okay, I grew up going to this church camp here at Green Lake. I walked into the bathrooms down at the exhibition hall, and that smell. Brought back some memories of like some senior high youth gatherings. All right? So I'm not saying I want you, like my smell, to remind you of math, but if it does, great. You know, so anything that I can do along those lines to make those connections. You said you had 3 questions.
Yeah, another one is, how well are you able to stay on schedule? And then, if they don't get their video fixed the night
Yep.
before, if they get it in their classroom, do you have computers for them?
All right, so here's what I do. I stay ahead of schedule. And I didn't realize that until last year, my first full year doing my AP stats, when I finished 2 weeks ahead of schedule. I had every day mapped out, and I thought, how did that happen? Did I miss a chapter? It's really what I started thinking. It wasn't a new book, it wasn't anything else. The only thing that was different was the videos. And I started to think, how did I used to do it? Come into class, ask questions, answer questions, ask another question, get another question, realize, wow, we really didn't get this. Reteach, go home and do it again. Now, all of that happens within one class period. I know what the major questions are. So before they even start working on the problems, we've answered the major questions. As they're working, they get the little questions answered. And if there's a major disconnect, again, you can pull them aside and have a small little remediation center going on and have that. But when it's done, the questions that they would have had at home that they couldn't have gotten an answer for, and you know they're going to text while they work, but they're not going to be texting about work. All right, they've got the whatever going and their social whatever, but they're not asking stats questions. All right, now they're in there and they're asking those stats questions, and so what I ended up doing is using fewer problems in the problem set, especially of the rote repetition. Do a couple of those in the class and you show me, yeah, you got it. Let's get to the challenging problems so you can do it in a controlled, safe environment so that if you fail, you can fail, figure out where you failed, and then solve it at the same time without leaving the classroom, without having to do that on your own. So I was actually getting more of the really challenging problems done in class, which I think are better problems personally to do in class anyways. And so I ended up finding myself finishing ahead of time. All right, I teach an introductory problem stats class, and right now I'm improvising because I ran out of content. All right. Last question then was, what about the kids who don't do the videos? They have to have the videos watched before they can take the test. That's where I go. Because life is busy. If I don't get something graded tonight, does that mean I won't do it tomorrow? No, I probably will do it tomorrow if I didn't get it done tonight, or whatever day. They're no different with the early dismissals. I mean, I think our golfers are out of school more than they're in school with the reschedule of every activity because of the weather. So, but, and they don't like it, but if they have to, they'll pull out the phone that they have that has Wi-Fi somewhere, and they can watch a 7-minute video and do their form while they're sitting on the bus.
Is that what you shoot for, about 7 minutes?
I shoot for 8 to 12. All right. I've heard someone say number of minutes should be the length by grade level. All right. I've heard other people say number of minutes by age. All right. YouTube sets an artificial limit of 15 minutes, unless you give them your cell phone number to verify that you really are a person, and then you can go over 15 minutes. But it was a good challenge to limit myself to 15 minutes. Again, the first couple of videos I did ended up being about 12 minutes long, and I thought, how come this used to take me a half an hour? Wait, could you repeat that? Can I go to the bathroom? What page are we on? I mean, you guys can list all the questions that they're going to ask that slow you down from teaching just the content. All right? So then you have the one kid who's way ahead of things and wants you just to get to the point, and you have the other one who is still on step 1 because of dysgraphia or who knows whatever learning challenge that they face, who's not even close to where they need to be. All right, so now you're differentiating, albeit at home, with their ability to do that reading, and to do that writing, and to do those note takings, and to write those questions that they need to ask at their own pace.
So do they, if they do they have access in your room to the video?
They can if they need to in the classroom. But they learn pretty quickly that it's a poor use of their time, because then they get home and they go, now I don't know what I'm doing on the homework. Because everybody else was doing the problem sets, and I got to stop using the word homework for my vocabulary. So everybody else was doing the problem sets. All right, so what I actually normally see happen is a kid who doesn't watch the video that comes in and just tries to do the problem sets anyways, because they know someone else is going to have an answer to their question, and then they'll go back and watch the video some other time. It's not the best, but I'll be honest, I've done that when I fixed my car way too many times. I think I know what I'm doing. I'm going to go watch a video now, because I model that behavior, so why do I expect different?
So would you maybe have, some kids that are 2 videos behind?
Oh yeah, yeah. I had a girl in my intro class, getting to your point of self-pacing, who finished the last chapter. Second or third of March. Okay. Has she done all the content for the class? Yes. Has she taken all the assessments for the class? Yes. Does she know the material? Yes. What does she do now? She uses that time to study for another class. Congratulations. I'm not going to tack on more and expect her to do more. She's done everything I've expected and excelled at it. Why not?
Could it be that, they can't get their problem set? I mean, is that like a handout that you give them?
No, the problem sets, I use an open source book through CK12 that I've been developing over the last couple of years, so just problem sets.
Okay, because I didn't know if maybe
Yeah.
you had to have this, and then you would give them the problem set.
No. So that way, it's because that's harder to manage, to know which section they would be on to which problem set. That's more management than I have. I just don't have that ability. Yes?
Okay, I understand the discourse and collaboration that takes place when they're in your classroom doing
Yes.
the problem sets.
Yes.
The one criticism that I've heard and I'm unclear of yet is when the kids are watching the videos, some of the videos that I've seen from teachers or Khan Academy or
Yes.
whatever, basically just is a traditional classroom lesson.
Yep.
And the kids are watching it and they're being told, basically you take a to the second times a to the third and you add the exponents and they might show them why, but the kids aren't formulating those rules on their own and actually coming to that on their own. They're
Right.
getting it through the video.
Yep.
And that's that's important for the kids to formulate their own.
Yep.
So how do you handle that?
Is there any information asked for you to complete during the lecture included in the space below? Purposely leaving things out and getting them to start making some of those connections on their own before they come in and have to do problems on them. And it can be simple ones and it can be elaborate ones as well in terms of making connections. I think geometry, because we've talked geometry, in developing all the different formulas for areas of quadrilaterals, if you have the triangle figured out, you can get to the quadrilateral. You start making some connections, and then you ask a guiding or leading question that they need to then think about and answer. Now, if they're wrong, that's fine. But they have to think through and provide an answer to the question that's being asked. All right, so there you're getting them. It's not just so I guess that's my attempt at having dialogue while the video's going on. But it's, stationary response to what, it's not really truly dynamic. But you're right, a lot of the videos, a lot of my videos are just reversing delivery and then production to opposite ends. Yes?
How long do you find yourself standing in front of class
As opposed to working with individuals or small groups?
I stand in front of the class for probably not more than 5 minutes. Yeah. So my intro class, which I said I ran out of content, I didn't have anything prepared for that. So now I'm up in front of class and I had to talk for 20 minutes the other day. Yeah, I gotta get a drink of water. So what you're getting today is probably cumulatively more instruction than I do in front of a class in a month. Actually standing in front and doing it.
I use a lot of lab work when I teach my AP stats.
Yeah.
How you incorporate all these labs.
Oh, the labs is perfect because we can do lab prep,
Right.
a quick video about what's going to happen. They come in and they're off and running. Our schedule is 4 days of skinnies that rotate and then 2 days of block. And so I try to throw those labs on the days that I have 90 minutes. So we can investigate, data collect, run the tests, evaluate, and then actually have some time to process out and debrief before they go away. In some ways, in VStats, it's almost like a whole chapter in one day, conceptually, when you get to the point. So that's how I use the labs there. Again, for me, it's a more productive use of my time to get the whole lab done all in one class as well. So that's what I do.
It'd be nice to have a little block once in a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And every once in a while, we'll have to do a lab that it's disconnected. Just because of the rotation and when those days actually fall into place. But now as we get ready for the AP exam, now I've got 90 minutes to... But again, that's about the rotating block schedule, which is another thing that I could go on and on and on. Yes, sir? No such thing as stupid questions.
AP stats kid or even intro to stats.
Yes.
More engaged in year's time, year homework, and help.
Oh, intro to stats?
Maybe not intro, but I'm thinking like pre-algebra, algebra,
right.
freshmen,
Right.
Like their buddies in the class.
Those are the ones that I have in intro to stats. We're going, I need another year of math, and I hate math, but the college guidance counselor says I have to pass another year of class of math. That's, typically my clientele in that classroom. So yeah, there's a lot of that you face. But again, I really try to articulate why I do what I do and why I see the benefits that I see. And I try to be as transparent as possible. I have no hidden motives for doing this. And again, I don't sit at home in my recliner because I've made all my videos. And really telling them what the benefit is for them and how having, it's sports is the greatest thing. And I say coaching because that's what I do every day in the classroom now is I coach. And I look back and I think to the kids who come back, that I taught 10, Facebook friends now, right? 10, 15 years ago, going, I'm really sorry I neglected you as a student because I feel like I'm connecting so much better now. So, the short answer is, it's still hard. Oh, I think it's better than when I taught in a traditional model. Again, mostly because I'm making more and better connections with kids as individuals than I ever used to. I know more from looking at those in my Google form, my spreadsheet. I know more about the questions they ask and the type of questions they ask than I ever did before, which will be my bonus clips here at the end about what's going on. So that was how. Well, a little bit. Yes. Yes. My textbook is online, so all they have to do is go and find those problems, and it can be downloaded as a PDF the first couple of days of school, and then they have it wherever they go.
So when you do an assessment, you assess the whole class at a time?
Nope.
Or if you 5 students are done with all this?
If they work ahead, yes, but I have a minimum date. If you're not, by here, we're assessing on the chapter. You can still go back and retake that test anytime during the current term, but you got to take it the first time this day. Yeah. Otherwise, you will work to the latest possible deadline. All right. Yes. Yes. They get zeros on the videos. Yep. They still have to go back and watch them. All right, and then we have what's called after-school study hall. So if a kid doesn't get work done, they're assigned after school. I said, really, you're going to be late to baseball practice? And you're going to tell coach because you didn't watch an 8-minute video online? And they, of course, won't say that, but you shoot the email. Hey, if you're wondering why they're late, and then, they're running, they get that cleat somewhere. Anyways, so why do I flip? And I think a lot of this has already come out. What is the most valuable use of my time, the kids' time, and our time? All right, and I never contemplated this question before. This is plagiarized. It's on video. This belongs to Aaron Sams and John Bergman from their book. This is how they lead out. And when they asked the question, I thought, yeah, you're right. Because the most valuable use of my time isn't to stand in front and talk, and you just to never have a chance to ask a question. That's not modeling good processing for brain activity. Individualization, differentiation, they can't hide. I shouldn't say they can't. It's incredibly hard to hide far more than it used to be for me. All right, I've already talked some about the differentiation that it allows for, and it's a new type of exhausting. It's a different kind than what it used to be. You know, and yes, the time to start and the time to get going has been a lot for me. But once I kind of, again, you find your rhythm, you find that pacing, and it doesn't seem so bad now. I get back to the intro class, and I'm exhausted now teaching a lecture. It's a different type of exhausting. All right, but the differentiation, that's one thing I struggled with before, and have found better ways to handle and manage this now, just because my classroom is set up for it in terms of what we can and can't do in a room. They don't like to self-group by ability level. Sometimes you have to force it. But you can do all sorts of type of groupings in your classroom to get them working. All right, just because they're working on the problem sets doesn't mean they're working alone or with their buddy. All right, I use a deck of cards all the time, and they don't know, is this a probability simulation? What's going on? They get their cards, and I say, okay, group up by suit, group up by number, group up by odds and evens, group however, or maybe we're doing it for a simulation. So they're forced to have, and this gets to, I don't know if anybody went to the how do you still keep communication going in a one-to-one environment. I think that's another lecture going on. This is one thing that I do that forces them to actually talk. Because you work with people who you normally don't work with, you get different perspectives, and then you can start to learn. And then sometimes it's forced grouping, and it's by, you came in and you look at it and say, you're in the green group, you're in the yellow group, you're in the red group. Stop sign, right? Green, go. Keep going. You're running. You work together. Yellows are, enough of you have enough information, but you're probably not exactly where you need to go. You're running a little slow. All right? But when you put them together, usually they have all the pieces they need to get the green pretty quickly. You know, it's usually a small group of stop sign where it's, okay, let's really take a step back. Yeah?
Going back to what the student that you said finished all their stuff.
Yes.
My question about that is, I totally agree. She got through all of the content.
Yep.
Wonderful, wonderful. I am thinking about this, and I can already hear my administrators telling me that I am lacking in challenging my students. And I totally agree that they work their pace, but I'm lacking in helping those gifted or the ones that need to be challenged. So do you have either suggestions or a good defense on how to tell them that I know I'm doing this correctly?
The girl that finished early has exceptional time management skills. She is not and would never have been categorized as GT. No way. Especially not in math. Okay? The challenge level, she met and exceeded. So it's not that I didn't challenge her. It's just she's really good at getting work done early and on time. All right. In those classes where she maybe is a little deficient, she now has more time to get work done there. So really what I'm doing is I'm allowing her to excel and grow in English, where she really struggles. All right? Whole child. There's your defense. Okay? Is it allowing the whole child to grow fuller? I think so. All right, if you want me to challenge her more and just give her more work, I think I'm going to turn her off to mathematics, to be honest.
Yeah.
She's in my intro class because she didn't want to be here in the first place,
Right.
but she's really liking it. I think she might actually consider doing this as a minor with her marketing or whatever she's going into. I can't remember now. All right? If I just pile on, I'm going to really kill that desire. All right? Now, does she still, oh gosh, she'll shoot me emails, hey, did you see this article? All right? She's thinking stats. I can't assess that. That's not curriculum, but that's, I mean, you talk intrinsic. I love it. Yeah, so. Recency is primacy. Now I'll go to my next slides. There we go. Yeah. All right. When you talk about your brain, all right, the most recent thing that you learned and did when you go to sleep is the primary thing that's going to be go into storage, short-term and long-term. All right. Brain research is very clear on that. All right. Old school. How did I used to do it? Kids at home, they're staying up too late. They're getting work done, and they do it wrong. And then they go to sleep, and it's stored that way. How come I can't break this habit? I always add the denominators when I'm adding fractions. I just can't break the habit. Because they learned really early how to do it the wrong way, and it never got completely flipped back for me. All right. Once that brain, think of it like a rubber band. Again, I'm stealing that from Joanne Deek, if anybody knows her. It's like a rubber band. or a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets. It also develops a thicker myelin sheath, which allows that impulse to travel quicker and more efficiently. All right. If they keep doing it wrong, they're building up a myelin sheath around the wrong. It's like going the wrong way. If you always turn down the wrong way street, that's a one-way street. You're going to get hit every time. But that's what you do all the time. That's what they're doing. All right. So that recency is primacy. So what are we doing? I'm switching it now so they're getting the content and starting to ask them to start making some connections on their own, but not embedding a wrong process when they're doing that. All right. So hopefully what happens, you get the more fired up brain, something that's going on. All right. Secondarily to this, less time doing work at home, homework. Again, I'm pulling my kids all the time. Last couple of weeks, on average, how much time have you spent on my class outside of class? If it's ever over 20 minutes, I'm having a problem because it shouldn't be. Not if they're doing the video. Okay? Maybe it's because they fell behind and they're trying to catch up. Maybe. And I say anytime out of class, which means could have been during their study hall, could have been at lunch, could have been when they got dropped off early. That's all outside of class time. I'm not saying at home. Just how much time did you spend on my class when you're not here?
How do you gauge the length of the problem set?
Trial and error.
Just kind of play.
Yeah, the first year I went through it, we kind of essentially we'd be working, and then I realized, oh, if you already got to number 5, I'm sorry, and then like, don't do it. Skip to these others. And then at the end of the class, I'm like, show of hands who got to here, who got to here, who got to here. Like, all right, this was the end point. So if you did extra, congratulate yourself, because you did more than was expected. They never see it that way, but it was, I wasted time. No, you didn't. You got more on it today. You got more bang for your buck. Your return on investment was greater, whatever you want to say. And so that's really what I do. And so now, I try my hardest to make sure that when that class period ends, that they are right at the end of that last problem, so that they don't have to do it outside of class, because I don't want them to.
Do you ever have somebody who does not work in class?
Yes.
Can you do that?
Same kind of thing. Yeah. There's kids who just, you always have the ones who just don't want to sit and do anything. Mm-hmm. All right? And part of it is more or less being honest with them. Say, okay, I get it. You don't like math, you don't like me, you don't like something, hate life, whatever. Good. Just do it over there. And if you're on the outside of a group long enough, eventually some of them might get sucked in. All right? And it's probably not the best for an emotional stance for a young person. But I tell them, I have no problem with you as a person, but your behavior is not conducive to what everybody else needs to get done. And I get it. If you need a timeout, take a timeout. We got them as you're little, right? Have you ever put themselves in a timeout? I'm going to do something so I can get some time away from everybody else because they're driving me crazy. All right? I don't think that changes. This is mine. Feel free to steal it. So what happens? Circle of learning, right? It used to be that we were delivering content in the classroom. Now that's done at the home. All right. Instead, we're practicing skills, and this is what I love. I get to help develop and build context because, again, for me, that's learning, that's understanding, that's applying, that's all those big Ings and Bloom's taxonomy. All right. We get to that point when you're building context, when you make sense of what it means. It's kind of like the what, so what, now what. This is the now what portion. We get to that point, and now we can really start to have some fun with math. Again, outside of this room, that sounds crazy. So that's what's going on. Skills and context. We develop and build good, positive, correct skills in class, and then bridge that gap into developing and building context. How is that relevant? How is that going to grow? They can start making connections on their own. They don't need me there to do that. They make connections everywhere they go. There's the Bloom's thing. I like this picture. Look it up. You can find it online. Because it talks a lot about the technology that we can use to do that. I'm not always about technology. I do like my gadgets and my widgets and my gadgets. Here's my personal story. All right. So my son, is in 6th grade, and he's taking French for the first time. And French teacher was talking about the Bouche de Noël, and I was like, at first he said it because he mumbles because he's a 6th grader. If you teach middle school, you know, yeah. I'm like, huh? He goes, it's a cake without any flour. Okay, I do a lot of baking, so I'm like, all right, whatever. I want to make one. Okay, what do you need? So we went online and he found what he needed. All right, what else do we need to do? He goes, well, I'm going to make it. Okay. Sounds good, 6th grader. All right. So what did he do? He went online, he found a video. He watched the video 3 times. He made me a list of all the ingredients that he needed. I bought the ingredients. I gave him the ingredients, and he said, the only thing you need help with, how do you separate an egg? You know, and I'm not in the kitchen. I'm nowhere. I'm like, first, why? Well, I'm making the cake without flour. I'm like, oh. So I showed him how to separate an egg. So do you want me to do any others? He said no, because it takes like 6 or 8 or 12, a lot of egg whites.
Yeah.
All right. And then he went on, started going. It has to, whip him to a stiff peak. And this time he didn't want to ask me because I don't know why. So he went online to look what that looked like, watch the video to see how it happens. And lo and behold, this is what he makes.
Fantastic. Bravo.
First time he ever made it. I know. Proud Papa right here is what that is. But then I'm like, well, I could use this for my class. This is why I do it, because when we're faced with situations and we don't know how to do it, where do we go? We go to someplace who has information. It used to be us. Well, it still is us. All right, but we're not here. We're there. We're in the ether. We're on the internet. We're wherever. All right? What does he need help with? He needs help with some of the skills. He needs help with developing some of the context of how does it all then work together. All right? I required him to let me take it out of the oven. More of a safety issue. Okay? But still, my job changed to coaching, to watching, to saying, don't touch the hot pan. Right? Don't make this mistake in the classroom when you're working on that proof. And lo and behold, he made something fantastic, and I got to eat it. All right? This is what I hope for in our classrooms. No, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then his French teacher was really upset that he didn't bring a piece to school. Hey, look at the pictures of what I made. So the bonus clips. I'm writing comments. I don't know how you guys do your comments for writing at the end of quarter and term and things like that, but we're encouraged to write actually something relevant to that child and how they're doing in your classroom. I used to, when I taught at one place, they had all the codes that you could use, I don't know if you still use those. I always wanted to put the one in there that you used to shout. Yeah, it's just for fun, but I thought, again, that's probably not nice. But what we end up getting then is, I have everything they've written for all of those notes they're taking on all those forms, for all of those videos. And I can cite specific examples of how they're asking these type of questions. Copy, paste, look. And the parents go, wow, you really know my kid. And I realize, I do. A lot better than I used to. College recommendation letters, when a kid comes back and says, can you write a recommendation for me? And I go, I can go back because I archive all my stuff. It's out there in Google. It's forever and ever and ever on the... So I go back and I look up their email address and I can go, actually, yes, I can write you a copy. And it will actually be relevant to who you are. Dealing with learning differences probably could be a whole other lecture series. But I found great abilities to, one, learn how to do this better, and then have time to do this better, because it falls into the category of differentiation for me. All right? Dysgraphia, look it up, ask the Google. Yeah. No, actually, my kids love it when I say that. But now they usually don't even ask. Someone's out there searching for it, and they got an answer for me. Sometimes to questions I didn't ask. All right, so set a goal. How many are you going to do? If that's what you're going to do. It's not about putting a video in again. It's about what do I do that can be flipped? What can I do? And flipping can be sending them somewhere to just read an article. I was at an AP Stats thing this morning, and we listened to a little NPR podcast. Go do that. Ask some questions. Write some questions down. Come to class with that prepared. All right? There's all sorts of ways you can do it. I tend to use the video more often just because, again, I found what I like and I use it, and now I kind of overuse it, and now I'm looking to see what I'm going to change. I'm always changing. Convincing the kids, day one, watch a video in class. Give one kid the pause button capability, and anytime someone says, pause, wait, pause that, you got to pause it. How long does it take to do an 8-minute video? About 45 minutes. Because everybody waits at a different point, and then it becomes almost like a game. And then at the end you say, wouldn't it be great if you all could just pause it whenever you only needed to? Yeah. Guess what? So, you know, like everything, you trick them. All right? I'm very clear about why I do what I do. This is how I teach. Some people think I'm very predictable. I like to think that I do everything for a reason. I am very, if I'm doing it, I got a reason for why I'm doing it. If I don't have a reason, you should then question me and we should figure out whether I should do what I'm doing anymore. All right, but if I don't have a reason for why I'm doing something, I shouldn't be. I'm just spinning my wheels and wasting time. So I explain to them very quickly. I go through a lot of these slides with them about this is why I do it. This is what I've seen happen. And this is why I don't think I'm going to stop. The kids always say, are you going to do this next year? As of right now, yeah, why not? Okay, until I have a reason why not to do something, or there's something bigger and better and greater, I'll keep doing it the way I'm doing it. But that doesn't mean I'm opposed to new ideas. And they bring in ideas, because they want to see, sometimes they actually do want to learn. All right?
Did they ever create the video?
Yes. Yep. And I'm going to not have time for everything. Goal setting, what's a reasonable goal in Roblox? We'll get to the, I say convince your boss, question mark. This is where it's it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. Yep. All right. Yeah. The great thing is, I am 80% administrative, so. So what do you think, Brian? I like it. And we move on. So, and then practicing it in class and doing it. So what's a reasonable goal? What roadblocks do you face? And I wanted to get to convince the kids. Yeah. This is good. If you have questions about test scores, ask the Google about Greg Green Clintondale. He's in Michigan. They flipped the whole school. They're a suburb of Detroit, very depressed area. If I'm an emotional man, and it drew me to tears. It's amazing. Clintondale, Michigan, yeah. FLN, the Flip Learning Network, it's on the Ning. Is a great place to go for anecdotes. The curriculum pacing I already talked about. What about copyright laws? This is a question you may not get asked, but you should have an answer to. If you're using a textbook and you're making videos relevant to that textbook, you better make sure that what you're putting out there is blocked so that only those that are taking your class have access to it, or you are violating copyright law. All right? Because if you've purchased the book, they're giving you permission to use their material as you see fit in your classroom. If that means video is fine. All right? My videos now, I'm almost 100% there. I have taken away and stripped away all mention of any textbook. It's all just based on content, which is if you go out there and search on the internet, you're going to find it somewhere. All right? So once I've done that, now I've opened everything up. All right? So does that mean anybody can see it? Yes. What if there's a kid out there who's not taking my class, not at my school, and they want to do AP Stats? Okay. I say all power to you. Learn AP Stats. It's good for all of us. Yes?
So what happens if you don't mention Pearson's or some book company, but you have a problem and a Pearson's rep sees it, knows it's their problem,
yep,
but you've not mentioned it?
Oh, that's your problem.
Then that's my problem.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. But I have the license for Pearson.
But if you've made it public,
okay,
that's the problem.
Okay.
All right. Some people say, "Oh, but I'm not selling it." It's purchased material that you're making public. It's same as all the Napster and such way back when. Same problem. Just because you decide to share what you paid for doesn't mean it's free access. Yep. Yep. Access. I wanted to make sure we got to this. DVD players, do a video, burn a video, give it to them. All right. I went to my tech. Trying to think if I had really much of this. Ended up being not an issue, but if it was, I found DVDs around that people just had stacked. I had a stack at home that I didn't realize I had. Ask around. People probably still have them around. All right. Jump drives are easier, just because you can rewrite, you can take stuff off, put stuff on, check it back out, make it part of a class list at the beginning of the year if you want to. That's if they don't have internet access. You can still do all this stuff here. What can they not do? They can't do the form then. All right, so they got to find a different way around that. Computer labs after school, underutilized, if at all. Public libraries, it's free if you have access. Again, and then it's just a couple years ago, I think it was a bigger. Every year it seems to be getting less and less, but it still is a problem. But there are ways around the problem. Yeah.
My question was about talking about that form that you have with Google, because I've had experience working with forms. Do you save like each chapter like separate, or do you clear out the form, or what? Do
I
you
clear out the form. I put it into an archived database, just an archived form or archived spreadsheet. I mean.
Okay.
And then I sort them by username. So I get their emails, so I can see all of their stuff one at a time.
Okay.
That's how I keep my stuff. Other resources, FlipCon. If you're looking for, careful if this is going to be on video, a better use of your PD money than being here. And if you're seriously thinking about flipping, I mean, if you're really serious, FlipCon is one way. If you go to the FLN network, the fliplearning.org, they have all sorts of other free webinars, subject matter specific, great, but it's only broadcast at one time. It eventually gets archived. They also do periodically other ones as they, like I said, I went down to Indianapolis because the Indianapolis School District hired Bergman to come in and do something. And they had an opening, so I went. I got Camtasia free as part of going. Yay! All right, great software program. There's other one-day things where if you're really thinking about how to do it, these guys are some of the guys, men and women, because Crystal's in there too, are some of the big names and who's doing this a lot. They almost all are on the fliplearning.org and participate in that, and some of them travel around. At FlipCon, Ramsey, John, and Aaron will all be there as keynote speakers. Greg Green, there it is, at Clintondale. FlippedHighSchool.com is his thing. If you're looking for research because you're a data kind of person, Ramsey did his dissertation on that. It's specifically doing it for chemistry, though. So chemistry. I honestly don't remember what Brian teaches. Pre-calc, chemistry.
Where is that thing in the
FlipCon is in Stillwater, Minnesota. Yes, that's the even bonus side. And here's what I really wanted to do, is do this a little bit, which we ran out of time, but you guys asked such good questions. So I'm going to go sit out in the lobby, and if anybody wants to explain everything, if you use iPads, $2.99. Incredible app for doing recording of what you're doing. It does not get video in. It's just like having a little slate, and you do it, and it works with YouTube and everything else. So slight.
Just see the slate. It's like the Comcast kind of idea.
Yep, it's like the Khan Academy thing. Camtasia, if you go to a conference and get it for free, that's my recommendation. You could buy it outright if you want. All of this, since it goes up to YouTube, cross-platform. Sorry if you didn't get that, I'll come back. Everything is on YouTube, so platform is non-relevant. You can get a 30-day free of that, yeah. All right, so this is explain everything down here. Watch this. Record, and now it records everything I do. It maps it all with everything that I do. I can add a slide, and it starts recording and adds more things. I can add a picture to this. Existing photo and things like that. If I'm, this is explain everything. If I'm talking about functions and I want to do it and I want to say, hey, look, this is what I'm talking about. No, don't forget this over here and this over here. It does all this, and then I realize, pause. Gotta take a breath. I gotta go find that thing I wanted to insert, and then I hit record again, and I can keep recording, and then I get done, and I hit pause, and I save it, or I can export to wherever.
Is that Screen Chomp?
Screen Chomp is free. It's limited.
But this one's called.
This is Explain Everything. It's $2.99 iPad app.
Have you used Educreations? Because Educreations is like Explain Everything, but less, and it's free.
Oh, haven't used No, I haven't. Educreations.
Educreation.
Educreation. Haven't used that one.
I mean, it was free when I did it. So
You've used this one? You've used both? Yeah.
Educreation.
Okay. So, like everything that's free, it's, you get what you pay for. QuickTime, if you have QuickTime, you can do screen capture with QuickTime. No, that's not what I wanted. I thought I had QuickTime running.
Safe trip back.
I don't. All right. Yeah, it's 2 o'clock. Sorry. Enjoy. Email me any questions, always, anytime. Maybe reference that you saw me here, or I will look and say, I don't know who you are.
Yeah, I feel like